Notice how easy it is to choose yourself when nobody has your attention. At first, you are connected to yourself. You know what you want, you know what you need, you know what your values and standards are. Then one day, someone catches your attention. An attraction begins. And because it feels beautiful, innocent, and exciting, most people never realize what happens next. Little by little, their attention starts leaving home. And they begin to think about others more than they think about themselves. The desire to be chosen becomes louder than the desire to choose themselves. That is the moment people don't see. The moment attraction quietly turns into self-abandonment. Self-abandonment happens when you start leaving yourself in order to keep a connection. The hardest part is that most people never know the exact moment it begins. It rarely starts with something dramatic. It starts with small compromises. You stop saying what you really think. You become afraid to disappoint them. You start over explaining yourself. You start making excuses for things that hurt you. You ignore your intuitions, abandon your boundaries, and lower your standards. Little by little, you become bent on being chosen rather than whether you are actually happy. That is self abandonment. One of the first signs to show that you are losing yourself is that attention shifts. First, you were asking, do I like this person? Do they align with my values and standards? Do I feel respected here? Now, attraction steps in and the question changes. Do they like me? How do I keep them interested? How do I make them choose me? Notice the difference. One keep you connected to yourself. The other puts your self-worth in the hands of someone else. Most people assume this happens because they love someone deeply. Not always. Sometimes the attachment comes from somewhere much older. A connection that touches an old wound. A wound that says love must be earned. Being chosen determines your self-worth, and validation should feel like survival. This pattern starts earlier than we realize. Imagine a child who learns that attention can disappear. Being good, pleasing people, and never causing problem is what keeps people close. Those lessons doesn't always stay in childhood. They quietly follow us into adulthood. One day we meet someone and an old wound gets activated. Suddenly, I want this connection starts feeling like I need this connection. And those two are different experiences. Wanting someone says, I need this to work. Needing someone says, my happiness depends on this. My self-worth depends on this. If I lose this person, I lose a part of myself. That's why self-abandonment feels so convincing because it doesn't feel like you're abandoning yourself. It feels like you're protecting something important. A woman who is truly connected to herself experiences connections differently. She can be excited, she can be vulnerable, she can care deeply and genuinely wants the relationship to work. But she remains rooted in who she is. She doesn't stop pursuing her goals. She doesn't stop building her life. She doesn't stop ignoring her intuitions. She doesn't stop ignoring red flag. She doesn't sacrifice her self-respect for attention. The connection becomes part of her life. It doesn't become her entire life. The same qualities that attracted people to her in the first place is often the same qualities she abandons while losing herself. Her spark, her confidence, and her independency. I need you to sit with this. If a connection requires you to become less of yourself in order to keep it, it isn't asking for love, it is asking for performance. Healthy connection can survive honesty, it can survive disagreement, it can survive boundaries, it can also survive you having your own life. If somebody's attention or interest disappeared the moment you become authentic, then your authenticity was never the problem. Maybe that's what nobody talks about. Because when someone says choose yourself, it sounds so simple, exciting, and beautiful until you're the one that has to do it. Until you're the one fighting the urge to send a text message, you're the one asking whether your boundaries were too high, Whether you asked for too much, whether your standards were too high, or whether you were just doing too much. Darling, that is the real battle. Not choosing yourself once, but choosing yourself over and over again. When a part of you still wants to run back, when a part of you still wants their approval, validation, and reassurance. That is actually what makes self abandonment so painful. Most people feel they are grieving a fantasy, a future that they imagine, a version of someone they feel would eventually turn to who they needed them to be. Letting go of that can feel so real, even if it never truly existed. My dear, there's a difference between love and potential. There's a difference between missing someone and missing the potentials that you saw in them. There's a difference between genuine connection and emotional attachment. If I'm being honest, most of us have stayed attached to people who have stopped showing up for us a long time ago. You don't know. It's not because we are weak. It's not because we lack values. It's not because we lack self respect. But hope is a very powerful thing. It can convince you to keep waiting. It can convince you to keep abandoning yourself. It can convince you to keep over explaining yourself. It can convince you to keep abandoning your boundaries. And it can also convince you to keep accepting less than you deserve. At some point, healing asks a different question. How much of yourself are you willing to lose while waiting for someone to become who you needed them to be? Or who you need them to be? How much of yourself are you willing to lose, my dear? Because the more I grow, the more I realize that healthy love does not require self abandonment. It does not require you to disappear. Neither does it require you to keep proving your self worth. If someone can only value you when you're overgiving, oversharing, overextending, and over sacrificing yourself, then maybe they are not attached to you at all. Maybe they're attached to the version of you that never asks for anything. That version of you that lowers the standards, that version of you that accepts less than you deserve, that version of you that abandons your boundary. That's the thing, that's what they like. Darling, that version of you needs to retire. She's tired. She has had enough. She has cried enough. She has waited enough. She has explained enough. And maybe this season is not about you waiting for someone else to choose you. Maybe it's about you finally choosing yourself. Not out of pride, not out of fear, not out of anger, neither out of the fact that you are eventually closing your heart, but because you are learning that your self worth is not supposed to be in the hands of someone else. It's supposed to live inside you. Okay? Okay? So, guys, I remain your girl, Kelly Ifo. Great. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.